Okay, Brad, here's your new President Washington. Got the fans on for you. So I got those in yesterday, so I was able to finally be able to complete these orders. I don't like to, not be able to do it. The fans were delayed. They should have been here way back when you ordered the radio, but they just, weather delays and all that good stuff this time of year, it sucks. There is a $70 rebate, instant rebate from President on these radios, so that's why the prices dropped some. And then Brad also used his loyalty points on my website, so there's a loyalty option if you sign up for it. You have to sign up for it though. It's not something that's just automatically given. So you earn points, and then you can use those points to get another discount at the, when you check out. So he ended up saving about almost $90 off the price of this radio, going from what they were before. So it was about $18 and almost $19 in loyalty. It was a 5% loyalty. There's a 5% and a 10%. So, if you save your points, you can get 10% off too if you want to. You earn points as you order stuff. Small things, large things, whatever you order, you still earn points. And then you can cash them out. So that's pretty good savings on this one. And I think that price on Washington, as far as I know, the 70 off is going till the end of December. So we'll see if they extend it. If they don't, then the prices will probably have to go back up, because President has a dealer pricing. So as a dealer, you're not supposed to deviate from that pricing. So we try to stay with what they say. As an independent business, you try to stay with companies that are going to support you. President 100% will support a small independent business. Some of the other manufacturers, not so much. So, as I've said before, there's reasons why I don't sell certain things, and you guys that are in the online world can just go get stuff on Amazon, whatever you want to do, and when you decide you don't like it or whatever, or for whatever reason, you just send it back. And believe me, there's a lot of junk radios sitting in Amazon warehouses, probably from either they didn't work right or they're just, what they are. So the good thing about these radios is they support their small businesses, and we'll just keep going with that. So do they have all the features and everything that everybody wants? No, but there's no perfect radio for anybody. A lot of guys just look at price only. So when I look at something, I look at it for what I want out of it, and usually price depending. If it's something I need to save up for, then I'll save up for it. Because if you really like something and you like what it is, then save up for it. You don't have to instantly go in debt over something just because it's something you like as a hobby. If you do, then that's up to you. But there are some savings and stuff, so take advantage of them while you can. Because I don't know if they'll extend it. Sometimes they do on some of their promotions and stuff. Sometimes they don't. I really don't know. I didn't know about this promotion till the day it started. So it is what it is. Some guys had recently just bought these like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before. There's nothing I can do about that. I don't find out this stuff until it happens. But they are nice radios for what they are, and anything that you can save is definitely a benefit to you as a customer. Alright, so we got the radio all set for you. You wanted 1 watt all the way down, so that's what I got for you. So we're looking at the bird meter here. It's a 100 watt scale in there, so it's about 8 to 10 watts. PEP up here, 1 2 3 1 2 3, check, hello, about the same. So not a super big performer from the low power. But it's pretty much what you want to make out of it for a radio. You don't usually buy this to run at a low power setting, I don't think so. Let's turn that power back up to level 5, and it's going to give you about 6 watts of dead key, something like that. 1 2 3 4 5, check 1 2, check 1 2, hello. So you can see both meters there. Obviously I prefer the LP100 for its better accuracy and faster readings. The bird meter gets hung up and just kind of sits at a certain level. Just because it's a mechanical moving meter, it doesn't have the reaction time. So I'm not trying to sell anybody on the power on these or anything anyway. So here's the all the way up power, about 16. 16 watts all the way up, and then with it all the way up, obviously the radio does more power, as you can see. So they got good audio. They sound nice and clear on AM. You're never going to sound distorted or overmodulated, anything like that. So it's pretty clean output too. For something just for a daily talking radio, they work just fine on AM. The fans are running at full potential right now. I don't know if you can hear them or not, but I have the limitation pretty much off. So that's the power limitation. Let me see. I don't know what this echo, what good settings for that would be. I've never played with the echo on these, so I have no clue. Let's turn that back up a little bit. They'll shut off now. So somewhere you'll find a good happy medium of excuse me, where you think, by operating the radio, where you think it's best to have the threshold where the fans will kick on. For the most part, when I'm testing them here, I just turn them on, make sure that they run all the time like that. So we'll switch to single sideband. I think the power's still all the way up. So we can see here 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You have SWR on the display. It's going to still show temperature and Fahrenheit. And here's both of the power meters showing at the same time. So you got 80 watts on sideband and just a hair over 80 at times on the LP100. So this is a good 80 watt radio. The sideband signal's been cleaned up, and it's not doing all that excessive average power that they do, which is just a waste. It draws too much current and it makes things heat up. So this is a much more, when we talk about sideband in particular, we want things to run linear, and it's very linear in how it's performing now. So don't know why the Chinese can't figure that out when they make these radios. That's one thing I just don't understand, but I'm glad that I can correct it, and it's a simple correction. So here's our power at 50%. So at 50% here, as again, it's going to drop the power to about half the power of the radio. So if you don't need the power, like I've always said before, it's best not to run the higher power. You can do just as much probably with 40 watts as you'll do with 80 watts. So if you need the extra power, then obviously turn it up, but it's not always necessary to run max power. Here's that at the lowest setting on sideband. So at the lowest setting on sideband, it's very low. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, about 10 watts maybe maximum, if that. It's like, each meter is going to show it different. Obviously the bird won't be as accurate here, but as you can see, it's about max of 10. So there's that part for you. And now I'm just going to put this on the antenna. I see the fans kicked on somewhere. I don't know where the temperature was that made them kick on, but it's probably a good area around in the 30 C range. I would say that once this hits about 90 Fahrenheit or higher, I think you should always have your fans going at that point, so you can figure out what's the conversion from. I would say between 90 and 100 would be a good starting point, and just switch that over in Celsius to what that is. I would say that what they should have done, because this is a worldwide radio and they give you booklets for all the other countries and stuff with it, I would say what they should have done is when you switch the front display to Fahrenheit, this should also have changed to Fahrenheit. Leaving it in C doesn't do us any good if we don't know the conversion of C to Fahrenheit. And I wouldn't expect that people in Europe would care about that, but in the US I think it'd be more beneficial if they would have thought about that. And that would have been something I would have mentioned if I would have had an opportunity to give my opinion on the radio before it was released, which doesn't really matter. It's not like I'm some person that really has a pull in anything, but I would have obviously mentioned that, and I think others probably would have too. One other thing I would have liked to seen on the radio is the NOAA weather for the USA. Now again, that wouldn't have applied to other parts of the world, but I think for us here it would have been important, and I would have rather seen that than maybe like Vox and stuff like that. I don't know how many people actually use Vox in these radios. I think it's something that they always standardize with functions, but I don't know really who actually uses it. And if you do use it and you enjoy it, maybe comment about it, because I've never never once used Vox on any radio. So that's a feature that I would omit if it were up to me. It would have been nice to have like a WX function here, like obviously the George has it, but it would have still been nice to have that option maybe in the menu, even if you could have went in, and if you're in America, you could have switched to a menu setting and turned WX on. Just having something more useful for us here would be beneficial, but these are just things I think about. Okay, here's the receiver. I like high cut on all my radios for the most part. There's also a tone setting in the menu that you can turn that down and get it a little more bassy if you want. The guys are keying up on each other accidentally. So just remember, I have the span function on, so whatever you decide to change, you can change it just by tapping the button and watching it blink. It doesn't even have to blink. Once you have it blinking, you can keep it on that digit, and it will just change accordingly and keep going. So I don't know. I think this is the better way to operate the radio. If you run the stock mic, let me plug that in. Okay, we're going to go back and set the mic type to EL. And then with the stock mic, obviously, when you change the blinking number, it will also change the corresponding digit, and it will stay there the whole time. So you can see we're going through the frequencies of the radio. It goes from there to there. It's the far top limit and the far bottom limit. So doubtful there's anything on the amateur bands right now. Maybe some FT8, but very doubtful up this high in frequency at this time of the morning. So bands are pretty dead right now. Sometimes there's some local guys out in the distance a little bit that talk on upper sideband here, but I'm not hearing anybody this morning. Nothing really here either. A lot of guys will say, why is my S meter read like that? I think it's just the norm of this new technology in these radios. They all kind of do that. So, the only thing you can really do to offset it is kind of back the RF gain down a little bit and make it more like a traditional. But what I don't like, I wish that they could change the technology a little bit in all these newer radios, is when you back your RF gain down, it takes your volume down with it. And I think it does that in the older radios too, but you have to increase the gain of the volume some. I notice it more on these radios for whatever reason, the newer style, all the strikers and presidents and Anytones, radio oddities, KPO, CRT, all of them, they all have the same technology for that. I think I 100% think that it's something more in America. There's something that we have in America that other parts of the world don't particularly have. Because I don't hear others in the world really complain about the S meters always reading higher, and I get it on a base station antenna or a mobile. So I think it's more something in America that we have, and I kind of think that, and I'm going on a limb here, but I kind of think it's more our electrical grid, because we have like that 110 volt, I think it's 60 hertz AC, and I think our electrical grid is very noisy compared to other parts of the world that are running 220, 230 volt grids. I think it has something to do with that, and maybe also the amount of like cheap electronics that are in America, all the very poorly shielded and just very cheap and poor electronics that have been flooded into this country. Maybe we have more of that in the United States than any other country in the world. I don't know, but that's the one thing about all these modern radios that a lot of guys have gotten turned off to, in a sense. So, and the only thing you can really do is back the RF gain down to make it a little more like what you'd see on like a Cobra or something. And it doesn't necessarily take the receiver out. These things are highly sensitive. They have super sensitive receivers. So even if I back in the RF gain down to, like, I think, what are we at, level 5? Yeah, it doesn't really cut you down too much on what you hear, or barely anything. So, you know, the locals aren't saying anything now, but I don't travel the world, but if I did, I'd love to see, like, what these radios and how they perform any of those newer style radios in Europe or Australia or other parts of the world, like, to see it for my own eyes and believe it, that they don't do that and they don't get that really high S meter reading and stuff. And but I don't travel the world, so that's probably never going to happen. But this, not taking anything away from the radio. I mean, it's a good performing radio. I've talked a lot of skip on the 10 meter and 12 meter band with these back when they first came out last winter, I think, or sometime around there. I had a Mosley. I still have it. It's just disassembled at this given time, but I had that in my backyard on a 5-foot tripod, so maybe it was max of 10 feet off the ground, and I talked all kinds of DX on those bands just with that antenna, with one of these. So, to say that it's not capable, I wouldn't necessarily say that at all. And again, you can still hear my locals just fine. So by backing that RF gain down, I think it does clean up the receive some and get some of that excess S meter that you might see out of there. So that's how I would run this, and I wouldn't think twice about it. So all right, Brad, well, I hope you enjoy it when you get it. I'm glad you were able to take advantage of the savings and use that loyalty. I highly recommend anybody that orders on the website sign up for the loyalty. It just takes you a few minutes to sign up for it, and then you start accruing points, and the points never expire. So if you don't use them for a while, they're still there. I'm not going to just make you use them just because. Like, you earned them, you keep them, and we go from there with it. 73.